All right, welcome back to another video podcast for the Vanport Bowling News. I'm Jim Ferretti. With me is Jeff Hemer. I've learned how to say his name correctly today. Pronounce it correctly. He told me no one ever gets it right, so we're going to make sure we get it right. And if you know anything about me, I'm horrible at names, Jeff. So we'll see how long Hemer lasts. Okay.
That's fair enough.
All right. So Jeff is the director of the Junior Bowlers Tour, better known as JBT tournament. And Jeff, where are you today?
I am for once at home in Seattle,
All
which is
right.
a bit of a rarity. So
Yeah.
enjoying the sun and the cooler weather. We've been down in the Southwest for the last 2 weeks.
I was
So
going to say when we
this is
set this up, you were in Phoenix and heading somewhere else.
yep, that's Phoenix, and heading somewhere else is a good way to encapsulate my existence. Yes.
Very good. Well, let's start with you. A little bit about you. You obviously are a bowler, I'm assuming, and have been around the area a little bit. How do we know you? How do we know Jeff Hemer?
Well, yeah. Through the tour, which started, if we want to go all the way back, I bowled the original version of the JBT on the Northeast. I grew up in New Jersey. Chuck Pisano Jr., the son of Hall of Famer Chuck Pisano, ran that tour for 46 years. And I bowled that back in the late 80s and the 90s. And went out to, made enough to pay a little bit of school, went out to University of Arizona. Thought something JBT like was everywhere. It wasn't. Got the local kids together. It was kind of a right place, right time scenario. And here we are 29 years later.
That's pretty amazing. Yeah, you're right. When we were growing up, there wasn't anything like JBT out here on the West Coast, and you mentioned making money. Nowadays, anyone with a USB-C card can make money for scholarships for college.
Right. Yeah. The scholarships, as being a large part of the program, really started in the late 80s. Before then, it was purely trophies. So it's changed the sport, obviously, into a
Yeah.
whole different scenario.
Absolutely. Well, tell me a little bit about the JBTs. If someone's not familiar with them, how do they work and who's involved?
Yeah, well, we run there's scratch and handicap scholarship tournaments. You have to be 21 or under at the start of a season. That under goes all the way down to as young as they can handle the format. It's a pretty long format. Our youngest ever winner was a 5-year-old girl, and her younger sister got mad about that, and the next year she won a tournament. So
Nice.
so it can be quite a young age if they can handle the length and the somewhat seriousness of the event. There's one just about every weekend. I think it's 44 weekends this year all over the Western United States. It's designed so any age and any skill level can come on out and have fun. It's not only a scratch event. Most tournaments have 4 different divisions going on: scratch, handicap, girls scratch, and then a whole separate subdivision for U17 kids. So any skill level can do it. In fact, it's if you're a younger handicapper or a newer beginning bowler just getting into it, this is a great time to start a handicap tournament club. So
Absolutely. Now you mentioned that anyone under the age of 21 can do it. That's a little bit different than USB-C, right?
USBC recently reduced it to 18 and under. We've been 21 and under since the 70s. Like I said, I'm basically a copycat of what Chuck did back east.
Mm-hmm.
So we're keeping it where it is. Since we're awarding scholarship funds, there's a whole lot of 20 and 21-year-olds that still need to have those tuition bills coming in. So it's
What
worked out pretty well for us. We've discovered decades ago that age is not the deciding factor on whether you succeed at these events. It's ability. And I think the older kids know. I get a kick out of it when a 14-year-old comes and kicks the older kids' butts, which
uh,
happens frequently, especially up here, by the way. We got some U17 kids that are regularly the finalists in the event, beating the older kids. Our current bowler there in the scratch division is Danny Chalmers, who was 16 most of the season that he won it. So
that's crazy. How does your scholarship program work? Are you going through USB-C Smart or is it a different program?
we are our own separate entity. We predate USBC. The original JBT predates YABA. They
Mm-hmm.
started when it was AJBC for the old timers listening in back in the day. It's our own separate program, allows us to be flexible and fast and all that. And I guess not to toot the horn too much, we gave out our $5 millionth last season at some point.
That's great.
So through sheer repetition more than any large thing, but yeah, it's
How can you scholarship money? How can the scholarship money be used? Is it any 4-year degree or any trade school, things like that?
That's one of the reasons we do it like we do. It's what we list it as any sort of educational purpose. The vast majority is your standard community or 4-year school, but if they have AP classes, if they decide college is not for them and they need to go to a trade school, we've paid for a person's fireman outfit to
Well,
get
that's great.
training classes. So as long as it can be categorized as an educational purpose, yeah, it's good to go.
That's great. What's your goal for the JBT? Continue to grow it, or what is your goal?
The goal was never to be where it is right now. When we started, Arizona coming from New Jersey was a gigantic state, so it never really occurred to us that we'd ever leave Arizona. And then kids started coming from New Mexico and Nevada to our tournaments. So we said, we'll return the favor and go to New Mexico and Nevada for the tournaments. And it's just kind of organically grown from there. Evan Olson was the first real Northwest kid to come down and bowl the Southwest tournaments and said, "Hey, that would be awesome if you tried this once or twice." And I guess I liked it so much I ended up here. So the goal is, I talk with the parents and say that one of the cool things about this is that, yeah, I kind of see the same things and the same stories that I grew up with 30 years ago. Just, the names are changed and everything. So I like being able to provide that experience with the kids and grow the sport. The Northwest is far better off than some areas as far as youth bowling. There's a ton of other stuff besides what we do. So I like to help foster that growth, and we love what we do. So I don't have any intentions of changing. I think we've expanded about as far as we're going to expand anytime soon, and unless they clone me, and that would be, bad for the planet. So.
Right now, you cover Washington, Oregon, California, Arizona, New Mexico.
What else is behind me? Utah, Nevada, West Texas. I think you named them all. Yeah,
Wow.
pretty much. We're in Denver in 2 weeks, so that's as far to sort of that corner that we go. We get down to Lubbock, Texas every year. Go to San Diego quite a bit. So if you kind of draw one giant triangle, that's where we go.
What goes into organizing an event like this? I mean, how do you balance competition and making the events fun and accessible to all bowlers? You mentioned, young handicappers.
Well, you just said that, providing that balance. A lot to answer your first question goes
Yeah.
into it. There's a whole lot of organization behind the scenes as far as getting the centers ready with us. We have a sort of a core group of centers that are just fantastic to us that make it easier to work with when we go to a newer place. For us, like we did last weekend in California, that's a whole nother stepping stone there. You're always keeping super close track of the atmosphere, like you said, because you are mixing all those ages and skill levels. One thing I love is that 99% of our older kids are really sort of the mentors for the younger kids. It's something I don't think you ordinarily see in other sports environments, and they just do a great job of making the newcomers of any age feel welcome and not panicked about this serious tournament environment that we have going on. The families that see me on a week to week basis know that it's a balancing act between, realizing, hey, these are kids and you want to provide a fun environment, but at the same time, when you're, playing for these serious wins with all the history and everything that we do, and then the fact that this is sort of a recruiting platform for things like college bowling, and that you want to make sure that everything is, perfectly run and serious when you need to be, fun when you can get in there too. I think is the balance you look for.
Well, you mentioned mentorship, and that kind of leads me right into my next question. Do you have any stories that you can tell us about how maybe JBD events had a good impact on a young bowler's life, either in their bowling career or in their personal life?
Yeah, yeah. I think one of the more flattering things is when I do get a note from a kid when they, get their acceptance letter to their dream school, or, they get their first check at a PBA regional, or, the ones that have gone on to the national level, which, just blows my mind. Just a little, hey, JBT was great. Thanks for all the fun times. The traveling is some of the best parts that kids, all of us, I think, remember less our results as we grow older and more of the goofy stuff we did while we're on the road and everything.
Yeah.
So rehashing those old times when we have a doubles or an alumni tournament, which we do periodically, and getting to see those guys. And now that's gross as it is to say, we're getting generation two, where these alumni of our tour are bringing their kids to the tournaments. That how can that be possible? And oh yeah, of course it's totally possible.
Yeah, we're getting old.
I don't want to say what year I just turned a couple weeks ago,
So,
but yeah, so that's super rewarding.
yeah, I run I would say I run, but the program runs me, a youth program here in Hillsborough Park Lanes. And one of the things I run into trouble is keeping the bowlers engaged, or the kids that engage. I don't want to call them bowlers because a lot of them are there just to have fun. So, what
Mm.
strategies do you use to keep younger generations engaged in this sport that we love?
I have joked that I'm going to stop with my pre-tournament and mid-tournament announcements and just text them all the announcements since they're sitting there on the phone all the time. One thing that I just sort of a mantra I go by, and whenever I have one of my helpers or they're new, I try and teach them is make sure you're interacting with every single kid at least once. If they have a great game, a little fist bump, way to go. If you see them struggling, you just that's there. If there's not a whole lot of interaction, just one kind word can go a heck of a long way. And like I just said, our older or our regular kids will do that too, unscripted on their own. It's not me telling them to do that. They're good kids and will do that. So I think that's a big part of it. We have jackpots that we do primarily between the first and second rounds, but and that's kind of a bit of goofy fun that they all look forward to. Yeah, stuff like that.
We talk a lot about keeping the bowlers engaged and making sure the bowlers are doing well. How important are the parents and guardians when it comes to these tournaments?
Finally, as far as the whole atmosphere of it, we're super fortunate to have a really good crew year after year, and we keep getting a new crew in as things rotate fairly quickly. There's a core group of two or three dozen kids that go everywhere that we go. And by everywhere, I mean literally almost everywhere. It's an amazing
Wow.
investment the parents are putting in, but they sort of become my surrogate assistant directors. They will try and usually lay out the pairs where there's at least one veteran family on each pair. So they're always leaning over and helping the new parents with, oh my gosh, what's going on? And fill them in. How do you fill out this scorecard? Things like that. So that's a big part of it. Yeah.
Very good. Partnerships and sponsorships. Does
Yes.
JBT have those, and how important are they?
Yes. Our two title sponsors are the Brands of Brunswick, which was formerly, which was absorbed as part of Ebonite. Ebonite
Mm-hmm.
had been our title sponsor since '03 or '04, somewhere around that area. When Ebonite merged with Brunswick, or whatever word you want to call it,
Right.
they stayed with us. So we're sort of sponsored by the Brands of Brunswick, but our focus is on the Ebonite brand of those. Some brands, each of our tournaments, we give out at least one Brands of Brunswick ball. If they win a raffle, they get to choose what ball they want.
Great.
It's a pretty popular thing, so that adds a ton to the year-end prizes that we give out, our bigger tournaments, at our awards dinner, things like that. And our second sponsors, I Am Bowling, probably somewhere behind me, banner there. I don't remember what's right behind me. They've been with us forever. They started as a little mom and pop shop in a suite 384 in Vegas, something like
Yeah.
that. And now they're just a giant industry leader in the whole apparel line, and they're still with us. They come on stage. The owners come on stage at our celebration dinner every July and present a bonus scholarship to some deserving kids. So those are our two main guys. We have local people everywhere. Um, yeah, every bit helps. Some people say, "Hey, here's if the entry fee is 50, they'll say 60, and hey, say put this in the raffle," and it all adds up.
That's
So
great. One. All right. So you were just down in the Phoenix area. You're up in Seattle now, and now you are coming back to the Portland area to Kingpins. Tell us a little bit about that tournament. How can people still get involved?
it's our first Oregon weekend of the season. We're at Kingpin's, the Portland location on Saturday, and then the Beaverton location on Sunday. They're two separate one-day tournaments. So some people bowl only Saturday, some people bowl only Sunday. Quite a few of them bowl both. There's still spots available. It'll be a packed weekend for sure, but there are spots available. Like I said, any age, any average can play. It's at 10 a.m. on Saturday. We start at 9 a.m. on Sunday to get them on the road a little bit sooner. Each tournament, besides what you win for how you finish there, you earn points towards getting into season end tournaments. There's a whole sort of playoff structure where there's always another kind of level to try and get into. But yeah, it's $60 is the entry fee, and we pay about a couple $1,000 each day.
I was gonna say that's a rather low entry fee for what the boulders can receive.
Huh. I hear differing opinions on that all the time.
I'm
I mean,
sure you do.
we try and keep it somewhat affordable. The world's not as cheap as it was
No,
5 years ago, let alone 10. So, the centers do a great job of providing us a reasonable lineage rate, which helps us keep our entry fee down. And the raffles subsidize quite a bit of the extra prizes we give out as well. So we're at a level, we raised it to a level that we hoped we could keep it at for a while.
that's
So
good to hear.
we're hoping that we can stay where we are for at least the short foreseeable future.
That's great to hear. And how can people enter? Do they go to your website?
All you do to reserve a spot is email us. It's director@bowljbt.com. Say, hey, sign my kid up for blank and blank tournaments. That holds their spot. They have the ability to prepay through the website. It's not necessary. Many people pay on site. It's more just about getting an entry roster. So I'm preparing the center as well as they can. Then we kind of show them the ropes when they check in. There's a ton of information on our website, which I guess I should mention, bowljbt.com. All the schedules, the info, the details, all the history of our tour. We're kind of baseball like in that way. We love our stats and history and all that. So encourage people to check that out. We have a pretty active Facebook page as well. So lots of places to find out more and more about us.
Great to hear. Great to hear. We'll have all that information also in the write up of this video as well. Well, Jeff, I appreciate your time today. Thank you so much.
It's my great pleasure. Thank you so much for spreading the word, and congratulations on what you're getting going down there.
Well, I appreciate that. Now, if you want to enter, again, just email director@bowljbt.com. Jeff will take care of you. Thanks to everyone for watching, and we'll see you out on the lanes.